The chat interface features in RPGSmith do more than just allow the GM and players to send chat messages back and forth. Now, as a player, when you launch a character joined to a campaign, or as a GM, when you launch the campaign itself, this initial participants list is shown. Now, as the GM, I can see all of the characters that are joined to this campaign and the current presence, whether they're offline, like most are here, or if they're online, like Zora at the bottom is. And this can be easily identified with this green indicator versus the gray. Now at the top, we also have an everyone chat. Now, as you could probably intuit, if you want to send a chat message to somebody, you can just click on the name and you'll get a chat window with that person. Now, this won't work if they're offline, so don't bother. Now, as you probably assumed, you could also send chat messages to everybody by this default everyone group. There are search features here, so if you have a number of players that scroll off the screen, you can simply type in the name of the character and have it quickly find that person. So this is the GM's view, which again lists all the characters. Now from the player perspective, it looks very similar, but you'll notice this character doesn't show themselves in the list, but you do have the GM. So if you notice before, the character image and the character name is used to display within chat, but for the GM, it actually uses the account image and then the account name. Everything else is the same. Now these buttons in the top right, this one allows you to expand chat and open it in its own window, which is what looks like here. This other one allows you to mute and unmute notification sounds that come through chat when somebody sends a chat message or when dice rolls occurs, there are different sounds, and this allows you to mute or unmute those as you see fit. Muted, unmuted. Now when messages are sent to the everyone group and you don't have it open, it'll automatically launch for you and show the message. Now the everyone chat window will keep historic data. If you want to send a message directly, you can certainly do so. And you can have multiple open as well. Now you'll notice on these other windows, you have some additional buttons here at the top, not shown in the participants list. These are just the size of this chat window. So if this is a little bit too small for you to see, you can switch to a view that goes across the entire bottom of the screen, or you could switch to a view that covers the whole screen. And then you can revert back. Now all chat messages will have these little 3 ellipses here. If you hover over those, you get the date and time that this message was sent. So you'll also notice some well-formatted chat messages here. And these are chat messages that were sent via a dice roll command. Now within the dice interface, there's this button at the top right that toggles between private roles and public roles. When this is set to public, any commands executed will be sent directly to chat, even if they're not executed from this dice interface. So here is a role executed by the GM or this account. And we have some extra features with dice rolls. Yeah, we can see the total to hit and the amount of piercing damage performed. But if we click on the ellipses for the dice rolls, we can see how those numbers were accumulated. So we see a d20 was rolled plus 5. This is the dagger to hit. And a second command of a d4 plus 2 piercing damage was rolled. So on the d20, you rolled an 18 plus that static plus 5, you got the 23. On the dagger, he rolled a d4. He rolled the minimum amount of the die, which is 1, which is why that's shown in red, plus 2 to get the 3 damage. And we can collapse that back. Now, as you might have guessed, if you crit on a roll, those show up in green, as shown here. So here's a big long command that's been run, and here are the results for that command. And again, we can collapse those back. The Everyone interface isn't just used to send messages between players and characters or to display dice results. It's also used for some system messages. So just now I added new loot to the campaign. When that occurs and the loot is visible to the players, a message pops up that says new loot is available, notifying them of this fact. Now the players and the GM can click on this message and the loot interface is launched. Now, in much the same way, when the GM starts and stops combat, a similar message is displayed saying combat has started or combat has ended. And clicking on that will launch the combat interface. So in addition to chat messages, you could also just type in dice commands directly into the chat interface. And you could identify those by using a /R. And the dice is rolled. You can hear the sound associated with that and the results displayed. Now as a player, you can also execute those dice rolls. Again, it doesn't really matter what dice you roll, but you can incorporate your character stat modifiers as well. You can see the result displayed. If you expand that out, you can see you rolled a 101 plus 12. And I can collapse that back or leave it expanded. And the last feature to show you is if you put your cursor in here and you press the up arrow, you'll see the prior commands executed. And you can kind of scroll through those up and down to re-execute that command or resend the chat message as you see fit. And like everything else, get in here, play around with it, and you'll be a pro in no time.